Another Tuesday night. But it is Tuesday night. And that means we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, www.welikesportspc.com proudly presents to you its podcast tag team champions of the world. The Cleat Geek, Mike Valentine, Gabriel, Babyface, Esparza. Daggone it, I messed his name up. Esparza, I knew that too. It's a WWE thing. If you know it, you know it, and if you don't, you don't. But ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the two of us. We are collectively the 643 and out guys, and this is the sports truth. Gabriel, buddy, even though I messed your name up, how you doing?
Yeah, there's a lot that's happened over the weekend that I'm far more upset about, and I'm looking forward to diving into it with you, Michael.
I get it, buddy. I get it, but I don't know. Are you a WWE guy or not, Gabriel?
No, I couldn't. I
No.
can't get into it. No.
Yeah. Well, there is a thing that used to be that it was Estrada, not Esparza. It was a wrestler that a guy would say and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Like I said, you either know it or you don't know it. So for those people out there, and I screwed that up, I apologize. Daggone, man. We are jumping and jumping and jumping. We ain't even done the intro music yet. We're already at double digits. So, all right. Maybe it was that little tease you did out there, that 30-second short you did here a little bit ago, right? That thing was pretty neat. So, well, we'll have to do a few more of those, and then the big ugly guy over here, I'll have to try to get on there and do some stuff too, so that way, Gabriel's not doing all the work. All right?
Oh, no.
No. Oh, here, see, we're already. The Red Hot Reds podcast is with us, saying, "Let's go, fellas," and we appreciate it. So you know what? We're gonna go, and I know I say this each and every week, Gabriel, but I had my really smart, really young, less than half my age son-in-law come over here and look at the setup that I've got here and said, "Hey, man, I have messed this intro music thing up for like the last 4 or 5 weeks. Can you fix this?" And he said, "Yes." So we're going to see if he actually fixed it. All right? We're testing it out to see. Right? Let's cross our fingers and see what happens here. So, without further ado, let's try it. We're going to do the walk-up music.
20 seconds start now.
Is it louder now, Gabriel?
Yes.
Okay.
10 seconds remaining. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh. Well, we're going to see if it's fixed or not, buddy. I'll be able to tell by your reaction. I don't know. You smile so much. I don't know whether it's good or bad or indifferent. I'll listen to it back tomorrow when I go to work. We'll be good.
You'll know.
But
You'll know.
On the sports truth. What are you laughing so hard for? So we're going to do NFL, NBA, and MLB all wrapped up in one show. We're going to do, as far as the MLB, we're going to look at the different divisions. Who's the toughest? Who's the weakest? We're going to look at the top 10 highest velocity pitches. And we're also going to look at top 10 hardest hit ball rate. A couple of different stats that maybe not everybody knows, and we're not sure if they're important or not. We will discuss. Then we're going to look at the New York Mets and the Chicago Cubs. And we've got a surprise question that Gabriel doesn't even know is coming. That's how we'll end the show. Just wait. We'll put him on the spot. As far as the NBA, of course we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs. Are big three teams done? And what about the Philadelphia 76ers? Can they trade Paul George or not? We'll discuss. Can they trade Paul George or not? We'll discuss. Then we will start our show off with NFL four down territory as we're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Las Vegas Raiders, the rookie wage scale, salary cap construction, and we'll do over and under on win totals for several teams right here on the Sports Truth. Well, hopefully that was better. And if it was, that's all thanks to my son-in-law, who a lot younger than me, and I was like, hey, I am messing this up. Can you fix it? So we'll see if you fix it, buddy. So I like the hat again. We mentioned it last week. You wore the same hat, but tell us what that hat means. It's Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully, you had a great Memorial Day weekend. There's a nice shot and close up of the hat. So, Gabriel, before we get into anything else here, we'll do Pittsburgh Steelers and Las Vegas Raiders and things like that here with the NFL first. But tell me, what's on that hat and what does it mean, sir?
Yeah, it's I almost said symbolizing. Well, I guess in a form of symbolizing, but very apt actually with Memorial Day for the veterans there, March there. So just wanna wanna always take time and appreciate everything that veterans, servicemen and women, former and active ones, what they've done for our country.
Absolutely. We here at 643 and Out Pod on the Sports Truth, we make sure that we support our veterans. I'm a first responder as well, so I really support them. We do everything that we can. If you get a chance for Memorial Day weekend, Gabriel, I'm not sure if you caught it or not, but I put a thing up on our Twitter, the 643 and Out Pod. Had a Pat Tillman tribute. Pat Tillman's one of my guys. I've always liked him. One of these days, I'm going to buy one of those ASU jerseys, Pat Tillman, and go to the Pat Tillman game there, since I don't live too far from the stadium. So one of these days, I'll get to it. But he was a fantastic human being, and he did a fantastic act for his country, and was very humble in doing it. So if you get a chance, go on over to at the 643 and Out Pod and watch that short video. It's like 3 minutes long. It'll tug at your heartstrings there a little bit. So we appreciate you wearing the cap. And we appreciate everything that our servicemen and women do, as well as our first responders here in our communities. So, Gabriel, let's jump into NFL four down territory here, buddy. So the Pittsburgh Steelers owner, Art Rooney II, said his team is willing to wait, quote, a little bit longer for an Aaron Rodgers decision. So here's some questions for you on this topic, man. I know I'm almost tired of talking about it, but I decided to go ahead and throw this in first thing, and we'll just get this guy out of the way, right? So, how long do you think the Steelers can actually afford to wait on an Aaron Rodgers decision?
Yikes. I think it's already passed. I really do. Because of where Aaron Rodgers is in his career, maybe he doesn't necessarily need the time. He understands football and what have you, but I mean, you've got a game plan. You have to install a system. There's going to have to be some form of agreement between he and the offensive coordinator, and then timing with teammates, getting to certain reads, and then goodness, let's not even mention, his cadences, the way he does snap count, the way he tries to draw defenses offside. The offense has to be privy to all of that. So I truthfully think it's too late. It's one of those things now where if you bring him in, um, there's still enough time. I personally think it's too late. I guess if I had to be like absolute, this has to be done. End of June, early July, just because of everything that I just said. It doesn't just happen overnight where you can have a competing NFL offense. That just doesn't happen. So I don't know what else you'd be waiting for, but good luck, Steelers fans.
Right now, so that leads me to the second question here, which is it's simple but it's complex, right? How desperate does this make the Steelers?
It's very odd, and I don't understand it whatsoever. They what I do, I'll give them first a little bit of credit before answering your question directly. I'll give a little bit of credit in terms of they they didn't do what everyone thought they would do in terms of go after Shadur, and there were certainly a number of quarterbacks that they could have selected that that they've obviously passed on, where people would have said, okay, this person now gets the reins, this guy gets the keys to the kingdom, and that's obviously not going to happen in that regard, um and now in terms of how desperate do they look, I don't know if I want to even call it desperate yet, because they're not saying, well, I guess indirectly they are, but right, they're not saying, Aaron Rodgers is our guy, we're just waiting on him. Indirectly they are, sure, I'll give you that, but they're also with this stance, also saying, and if he doesn't decide to join, we'll go into the season as is. So that's why for me it's not coming across as desperate, because they seem to be willing to go one way or another, which either way is odd. It's odd. Well, I don't like that they're entertaining this at this point in the season whatsoever, though.
But so if you were the quarterback that is already in the Steelers room, and they're basically like, okay, we like you and all, but if Aaron Rodgers comes, he's going to be the pretty shiny new toy, right? We're gonna
Mhm.
we're gonna put him in front of you, even if he signs the day before training camp, right? Wouldn't that upset you as the other quarterback in the Steelers room? And then what kind of relationship is that then going to foster for the rest of the season between the coaches and whoever decides to be behind center when they pull up the steel curtain?
Oh, it's not good. It's not good. Um, that being said, if you're a player in the NFL, that that you're always auditioning for your job, even if you are a 5-year starter. You have one bad season, and the tankathon's on. Let's go. Who's the next hot prospect? And I don't mean in terms of looks. So in terms of that, that's always a concern. But for this year specifically, I just don't know what they gain from potential. Let's just pretend that they do end up signing Aaron Rodgers in the 13th hour.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they gain from that upside versus just keeping Russell Wilson. And so now, me personally, I like Mason Rudolph enough, and like I said, they did draft Will Howard. But because of everything that's going on there, no one's saying, "Oh yeah, Will Howard, 15-year starter at Pittsburgh, starts now." Right? No one's having that kind of conversation. It's more like, okay, well, he's on the team. No one's expecting him to be cut, not by any stretch. But 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 just by having this type of conversation, it's like, okay, they have Will Howard. He'll compete with Mason Rudolph, and oh yeah, Aaron Rodgers is going to be looming over their shoulder for
Yeah, totally is. Yeah,
probably till October.
probably so. And even if the Steelers start off bad, which they're probably going to, right, with the quarterbacks who are in their room. And I'm a big Ohio State guy. I like Will Howard, but I'm not sure how he's going to transition to the NFL, especially in year one. So then,
Mhm.
even if that happens, right, let's say they start off, 2-4 in their first six. People in Pittsburgh are still going to start clamoring for Aaron Rodgers, and even though the season
Yes.
has started, they're gonna reach out because it's the desperation thing that fans do. We want a successful team, and if we think that another guy is going to give that to us, then we want that guy, right?
Yes. Can
Now,
I
really,
add? Can
go
I add
ahead,
one?
add whatever you would like, sir. Of
Oh, thank you, Michael. Just because you said something, and
course,
it's like,
as
oh my
long as they're not
goodness.
big words, okay? No, no big words, but you can add anything that you'd want besides that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Mental notes moving forward. Uh,
Correct.
this all doesn't become an issue if they just say, yeah, if they give the standard team talk, Mason Rudolph and Will Howard, they are our guys. They are the ones who are going to be in this QB battle. Then it's not a concern. Fans can then still say and project and have that belief of, oh, but Aaron Rodgers is there. But the organization is now openly and publicly story versus, well, Rodgers isn't signed yet. It's like, oh, shut up. He's retired, right? Right. Two totally different outlooks, particularly within the locker room, like what you said, Michael, in terms of, yeah, Mason, we love you. But you're really one awful Nathan Peterman quarter away from us bringing in Rogerson. You know that, right? And so, oh my goodness, Daniel. and so that's what
He's
we have
not
to deal
lying,
with.
though. He's not lying. So it's multi-syllable words. They can be big, but it's multi-syllables that get.
Oh, okay.
And we're talking about words, by the way. It's a family show. Words that are big.
Right. Well, right.
Right. Yeah. So the part that I really don't like about this, and that's you made a great observation here. It's what you just covered with us, is what the team's doing. The team is almost perpetuating this. This was their owner. He doesn't have to say a word. He should just keep his mouth shut. When we had Dallas on here from Sons of Star podcast, we were talking about Troy Aikman saying things about the Dallas Cowboys winning the Super Bowl this year on a big morning talk show. We were talking about shouldn't these people just keep their mouths shut? I think this is a case where, man, you just keep your mouth shut. If Aaron Rodgers ends up signing with you in that 11th hour, 13th hour, whatever it's going to be, then great. You go ahead and do that. You keep that stuff closed. You keep it behind doors. And if that's what you've wanted all along, you don't have to tell everybody, right? But they're telling everybody, hey, we've got a few quarterbacks in here, but we don't really like them. So we're hoping to get Aaron Rodgers before it's all said and done. And that's the part that I don't like. Here's our final question here when it comes to this Pittsburgh Steelers, Art Rooney the second, Aaron Rodgers debacle that's going on over there. So I also heard this week that the Pittsburgh Steelers could possibly be looking to trade for Kirk Cousins. So, Gabriel, I'm going to ask you, I know, which old decrepit guy in a walker behind center do you want, right? Which one do you think would be better for that team, though, Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, you don't like that. You don't like that. Which one is better? I would say Kirk Cousins, a little more straightforward, and a little bit more of a willingness to be amendable, I would say. One speaking of that, I was listening to, I forget whom.
No big words.
Oh my God. We just had this long 5-minute conversation, and look at what I did, Michael.
You don't listen, Linda.
I was listening to a show. See, that's called growth.
There we go. All right, so let's move on to the Las Vegas Raiders for a moment. Now, this week, the Las Vegas Raiders made A.J. Cole the highest paid punter in the NFL. So my first question to you is going to be kind of mean because it was my first reaction when I saw the story. Do you know who A.J. Cole is?
Yeah.
Oh,
I know of the name. I won't
Okay.
pretend like I know his average or anything like that, but I know of the name. Right, he was Raiders. Was he with the Browns for a minute?
I couldn't tell you, sir. When I saw the name, I was like, "Who is this guy?" Right. So I guess we'll build on that, and we'll say, how important is a punter to an overall team? Now, I'm not saying it's insignificant, right? Because it's not. It's a position on the field, but how important is it to the overall team itself?
I would like to fact check myself.
Okay.
He was never on the Browns, and God willing, he never will be. But it is pretty important. It is pretty important. I love special teams, so maybe that's. And again, I obviously know him that well, where I didn't even know that. I didn't even know his stops in the NFL. So that just shows you how much I know about. I actually know about him. But no, I enjoy special teams. Being able to flip the field. More importantly, being able to avoid shanks, hugely important, and I like looking at the technique specifically when there's a really good punt, like, oh, how did he hit the ball there? And then when there's a shake, it's like, yeah, you gotta bring that foot over a bit more, bud, or that plant foot. Ooh, that just looked off. You know, so I enjoyed that aspect. But you know, it's certainly not a priority, and for a reason. I didn't even know where AJ Cole was or wasn't, Michael.
Okay, so again, we're gonna build off this a little bit more, right? And I'm gonna ask you the third question here with this particular part to our NFL four down territory segment here, and that's this, Gabriel. What does 4 years, 15.8 million, which is what he got paid, 4 years, 15.8 million say about punters? If that makes him the highest paid punter on a 4 year, $15.8 million contract.
Yeah, what it shouldn't say is that, you know, they're not skilled or not good at what they do. What it should say is that what's viewed is the value over replacement. And I understand that may have been, you know, value over replacement. You know, that might have been that's a term there, but we'll go ahead and explain it. What that number is saying, and for him to be at the high end with that number, says NFL teams think they can just sign anyone who is a punter and they'll more or less get the same production. That's what that number should tell you. And that's what I mean by value over replacement. So, not good if you're a punter in terms of if you would like to make wide receiver money, I suppose. That's maybe not a realistic expectation anytime soon. But you know, if that's it's hard to frown when you have that many zeros, Michael. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that.
Yeah. And, I wonder how many wide receivers, how many are running backs, how many offensive linemen now, which are the guys that are seemingly getting paid now in the NFL. I wonder how many of those guys, I should have looked this up, are making more than the 15.8 million in one season. Never mind 4 seasons, right? I'm sure there are several of each one of those
Right.
spots that we just named off. So I'm going to go to our third question here in the NFL four down territory, and this is going to take me a second. So bear with me a minute, all right? I looked at this and researched this and was like, okay, how am I going to present this? I think I came up with a good way. It sounded good to me, but there are some things that sound good to me, and then when I say them out loud, they're like, "Oh no, that was terrible." So here we go. Here's the third question of four in NFL four down territory. So in 2010, which was the last year before the rookie wage scale came into place, let me put this up here at the bottom of our screen. The importance of the NFL